So mainstream media outlets are desperately trying to figure out why the hell it's the case that Hillary Clinton lost to a despicable candidate like Donald Trump. Now, they're still playing the blame game, and it's very clear that we have to blame Democratic incompetency for failing to get out the vote and inspire their base to turn out and vote. But they're blaming all the wrong people, and MSNBC has a new theory as to who we should blame. Third-party voters. So they argue it's hard not to notice the importance of third-party voters and the impact they had on the outcome. In Florida, Hillary Clinton lost by about 1.4% of the vote, but if Jill Stein supporters and half of Gary Johnson's backers had voted Democratic, Trump would have lost the state. Similarly, in Pennsylvania, Clinton lost by about 1.1% of the vote, but if Jill Stein supporters and half of Gary Johnson's backers had voted Democratic, Trump would have lost the state. In Wisconsin, Clinton lost by about 1% of the vote, but if Stein supporters had voted Democratic, Trump would have lost the state. In Michigan, Clinton appears to be on track to lose by about 0.3% of the vote, but if half of Stein supporters had voted Democratic, Trump would have lost the state. And also, another hypothetical situation we didn't consider is, what if 100% of Donald Trump's voters voted for Hillary Clinton? Then Hillary Clinton, she probably would have won all 50 states. So, I mean, this is ridiculous, and this is cognitive dissonance by the mainstream media. And furthermore, we know that MSNBC is the propaganda wing of the Democratic establishment, so they have a vested interest in trying to demonize anyone that deviates from their party. So if you vote for a third-party candidate, you're doing a bad thing. That's what they want you to believe. But look, we all knew that this was going to happen, so we were prepared for it, and thankfully the math isn't on their side this time. So the Wall Street Journal, as much as I criticize them, they actually crunched the numbers, and they concluded that the third-party vote doesn't appear to have been the key factor in Democrat Hillary Clinton's defeat at the hands of Republican Donald Trump last week. So when you look at some of the key states here and examine just the top row for a second, you'll see that Donald Trump's margin of victory was fairly narrow in these states. And even though votes for Stein and Johnson combined exceeds Donald Trump's margin of victory, here's how it would have went for Hillary Clinton in alternate hypothetical scenarios. So if Hillary Clinton would have captured 60% of the total third-party vote, Trump still would have won. If she would have got 65%, Donald Trump still would have won. Now, if she would have been able to capture 70% of the third-party vote, which would assume that third-party voters take very little votes away from Trump, then she would have won. And this is just an absurd scenario to assume that all third-party voters are taking votes away from Hillary Clinton. Now, if 100% of Jill Stein's votes and half of Gary Johnson's vote went to Clinton, she still would have lost. Finally, Clinton would have had to capture 100% of Stein's support and 60% of Johnson's vote to win. So this scenario in general is just preposterous, seeing that Gary Johnson is a conservative candidate. Most likely he would have taken a substantial portion of votes away from Donald Trump. And I don't like how we all just assume that third-party voters would have supported Hillary Clinton had the third-party option not existed. They probably just would have stayed home. And there are many indications for this, because when you look at voter turnout in 2008, 2012, and 2016, you'll see that Hillary Clinton actually got about 10 million less votes than Obama did in 2008 and about 5 million less than he did in 2012. Now, there were signs of this during the primaries, because when turnout was low during the primaries, Hillary Clinton tended to win big. And Hillary Clinton really needed to keep turnout low during the primaries so she could win the primary. And the DNC actually didn't even do their usual get out the vote campaigns during the primaries at the behest of Hillary Clinton, because they didn't want to help Bernie Sanders, and that bit them in the ass hard. So again, we have to acknowledge a stone cold fact. If Jill Stein did not exist, those voters probably would have just stayed home. If Gary Johnson did not exist, those voters probably would have just stayed home, and many would have probably voted for Donald Trump, seeing that ideologically Gary Johnson and his libertarian views are more similar to Donald Trump's libertarian economic views. So it's just absurd to claim that third-party voters cost Hillary Clinton the election. And furthermore, if these third-party voters didn't get out to vote, then we could have seen bigger losses for Democrats in the House and the Senate. So don't try to berate third-party voters and shame them for not supporting the candidate of your choice, because in a way, they probably help the Democratic Party overall. And when we have turnout that's so low in this country, I don't think shaming voters is a very smart tactic, especially when low turnout hurts Democrats and helps Republicans. And let me just say something that may be controversial here. We live in a democracy. We live in a democratic republic where we elect politicians to represent us. It's the politicians that represent us. We don't have to represent the politicians. So even if it's the case that you could quantifiably prove that Hillary Clinton lost specifically due to third-party voters, doesn't matter. If Hillary Clinton was unsuccessful at making up more voters, and if the Democratic Party was unsuccessful at registering new voters to account for the voters that she's losing to Gary Johnson and Jill Stein, you don't blame third-party voters for that. You blame the Democratic establishment for failing us and selling out and choosing to try to combine the interests of Wall Street and the working class when that's a disaster of a strategy. It didn't work for you. And to try to blame third-party voters is problematic, because if you really want to win again, if you want to try to take back the Senate in 2018 to prevent Trump from passing through his fascist policies, then actually take heed to our advice, because we were right this election, you were wrong. Be progressive and you'll win. Run progressive candidates and you'll win. Period. Stop trying to blame third-party voters. Recognize that you were wrong.